This next story is another one of those stories that would be a major scandal in a world that made sense, but it's barely a blip on the radar in the world we have. World Health Organization, 7 million people a year die from air pollution. 7 million people. They say an estimated 7 million people face an early death each year from air pollution, according to a new report by the World Health Organization. Among those deaths, 21% are due to pneumonia, 20% are from strokes, 34% are caused by heart disease, 19% are from chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and 7% are from lung cancer. Toxic pollution affects the vast majority of the world's population, according to the report, with 9 out of 10 people exposed to dangerous levels of toxicity. The poor and other vulnerable populations are at the highest risk of breathing such pollution. The World Health Organization study is based on 2016 data. The most recent information available, Southeast Asia and the Eastern Mediterranean saw the highest levels of air pollution, according to the study. So I don't know exactly how they controlled for other factors in this report, because when I saw, 34% caused by heart disease, the first thing that came to my mind was, well, how do you account for diet in that, and how do you account for genetics on that front? Because a large component of heart disease is genetic, and a large component of heart disease is diet. So how do you know it's tied to the air pollution? And I don't have good answers on that yet. I don't know if they were able to control for all these factors. But listen, the way I view it is, even if let's say it's not 7 million people that die from air pollution. Let's say it's 3. So cut it in more than half. That is still a stunning, stunning number. And listen, this goes to show you how oftentimes we don't focus on the things that are the biggest threat to human life. We get wrapped up in other issues that are genuine issues and serious issues. But, an issue like marketplace regulation really comes down to a life or death thing, We know it's a huge issue. I mean, just take in the U.S., the subprime mortgage crisis and the Great Recession. I mean, that's a clear case of deregulatory policies and tax cuts for the rich led to lives being destroyed, people losing their homes. So that's one horrendous consequence of deregulation. Another one is fucking early death from air pollution. And it's one of those things where it doesn't immediately click with people because it happens over an extended period of time. If you breathe in shitty air over an extended period of time, that's when, you get all the negative consequences pop up. But originally, like when you're just breathing in air pollution for a few days, you feel like, well, it doesn't affect me now, so what are you going to do about it? So, but these issues of regulation versus deregulation, these are life and death issues. It really does boil down to that. So, clearly in this case, we're not talking about the U.S., we're talking the world over here, how, India and other places need to do new rules and new laws to clean up the water, clean up the air. They need to make sure that they keep business in check and they deal with the problem of externalities, which is the unintended consequences of having a free marketplace. And one of those things is pollution. It's easier and it's more cost effective for factories to just dump toxic waste in the nearby river. So they do it. But the problem is that it should be illegal because when they do it, they're poisoning people in the fucking process, but they don't care because all they care about is their bottom line. And that's the easiest way and the cheapest way to dispense with the fucking toxic chemicals or whatever it may be. So you need to have marketplace regulation. And, here in the U.S., it's amazing how we do have an administration at the moment that will stop at nothing to try to make us more like the developing countries and have no regulation of the marketplace. You don't hold big oil accountable. You don't hold chemical companies accountable. I mean, Scott Pruitt at the EPA is the best example of this. Here's a guy who's in bed with lobbyists. Here's a guy who banned scientists who have received government grants. He's banned them from being on advisory panels at the EPA. He says, oh, that's a conflict of interest if you've gotten a government grant to do science. Meanwhile, he fucking packs the thing with industry insiders. But so they have no conflict of interest, of course. You know, if they're paid by big oil, hey, whatevs, they could still be an expert. But if you're a scientist who's gotten a government grant to do research, oh, we can't have you on this board. So they've been deregulating like crazy. And the whole point of him being appointed there was to do the bidding of industry. And the whole Republican philosophy is we can't eliminate the EPA officially because that would lead to a giant backlash and that would lead to endless negative press coverage. And even the Democrats would stand up at that point and go, what the fuck are you doing? But what they do is they eliminate it in practice. So keep the EPA in existence, but then put a guy in charge of the EPA who won't do what the EPA is supposed to do. And so this philosophy is a dangerous philosophy. It's a dangerous ideology. The idea that you let chemical companies, oil companies, natural gas companies do whatever they want and you look the other way, objectively, that leads to deaths. Because then you have more pollution, you have dirty air, dirty water, and that has long-term consequences, including premature deaths. So, again, not something that most people recognize, that these are life and death issues, but they are life and death issues. They absolutely are life and death issues. And this study from the World Health Organization shows that beyond any reasonable doubt.